Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Adams, and this is everybody's favorite show, No Spin Live, where you get the real story from the world's top plastic surgeons. So we've got a great group of surgeons that are going to educate us today. We've got Dr. Pat McGuire from St. Louis, Dr. Brian Brzezowski from Salt Lake City, and Dan Delvecchio from Boston, Massachusetts. We've reported this before. This is the clinic in Miami that apparently has changed its name and rebranded itself while keeping all the same doctors and personnel that's had a lot of issues with deaths from buttock augmentation. Dan Delvecchio, I'm going to start with you. I'm sure you have quite a bit to say about this.
There are surgeons of all types, good, bad, ugly, and these doctors, they had some deaths, unfortunately. I mean, you could take the argument they probably should have kept their name and their reputation, and it's kind of deceitful. I would probably go on the side that it's a little bit deceitful on their part to try to change the name. They're trying to deceive the public into thinking it's not their clinic and their reputation. But I find it unethical.
Dan, but isn't it true that what has been found, and you've been integral in a lot of this research, is really the technique that is probably related to a lot of the poor outcomes and mortalities and buttock augmentation. So that's where Albert Einstein came into this, because he said doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely technique. It's patient selection, it's instrumentation, and it's technique. And so if all you do as a plastic surgeon is copy someone's technique, we fall into the trap of really not understanding the concepts. But that's a higher level conversation. I want to bring it down to the level of the patient. These patients are traveling from all over the United States. They go to Miami because of price. The price is typically cheaper in Miami because of price pressure and competition. And if you're flying from Minnesota or St. Louis or New York going to Florida and it's a different clinic, those poor patients have no idea to Google the former name.
Brian Brzezowski, what do you think?
Well, I think, this is very illustrative of the transition that has happened in medicine over the decades, where you would go to see a plastic surgeon or a physician, and you would go to see that surgeon. Their name would be on the sign out front, so there was never any confusion about who you were going to see, and you were going for the individual. Well, of course, we all know the business model has changed, right? So now we've got, these institutes that have cropped up and these aesthetic centers that go by these lofty names. Ultimately, what happens is that now we have these business names that have nothing to do with the personnel that are there.
Yeah, Pat, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think like Dan said, is if you're coming from someplace else, you may not have heard on the news about these deaths, and if the name is different, how are you going to know? Because a lot of times, as Brian said, the physicians, they don't even know who the doctor is, who's going to treat them or is going to do their surgery. So they can't even look up that physician's record. So it is very deceitful. And you say patients do your homework, but how much homework should you be expected to do? Find previous names. It's very difficult.
Well, I think that's great information.